As I'm making the video, Bitcoin's down just over 1%. It's made a new high above our 93,000 area. I think it'll stall sooner rather than later. Could likely go up to the 200 period moving average on the 4-hour chart, which I'm showing you in this video. Once the counter trend rally is done, we should resume the decline and take out 80,000 and move down towards 74,000 for a test. Please support the channel with the link directly below. If you like the information, if you like my indicators, if you like my charts, please take a moment and support the channel. I don't have any sponsors. I turn those offers down. If you get a YouTube channel, they constantly contact you. I don't even reply anymore because I don't have time to reply, declining their offers. I just ask that you follow the link below and support the channel and just do what you can to help out. Just make a donation. Just showing you the stuff I look at every day, stuff that's been right, stuff that called the top and the sell-off, giving you information that you're not going to get anywhere else. Just take a moment and support the channel by following the link below. I thank you for your consideration for that. I just want to quickly address, we have another Moonboy hoax. We've had the Moonboy hoaxes. Oh, it's going to buy the Bitcoin strategic reserve. They're going to buy tons of Bitcoin. And that was not true. That was a Moonboy hoax. And Moonboy said that, not the government. Bitcoin's following the M2 money supply. And Bitcoin moves in the other direction of the M2 money supply. Another Moonboy hoax. Gold's going to sell off and all this money's going to pour into Bitcoin. Another Moonboy hoax. And I can go on and on. There are a bunch of them. We got a new Moonboy hoax. It's the SuperCycle hoax. The SuperCycle hoax. Bitcoin's no longer following the 4-year cycle. It's now in the SuperCycle because we have institutions now involved with Bitcoin. They're standing at the door to buy Bitcoin as Bitcoin drops 36%. They're selling. We now have adoption, and in reality, we continue to see Bitcoin have diminishing returns. Bitcoin continues to have diminishing returns each cycle. And each cycle, as we get more and more paper Bitcoin being created. Back over here in 2017, you had the Bitcoin futures, and then 2021, we had the Bitcoin futures ETFs, and then we got the Bitcoin ETFs, and we've got the options, and all the different ways that you can trade Bitcoin, and we continue to see diminishing returns with each cycle. Pretty interesting. The current Moonboy hoax is this SuperCycle. It amazes me. Now this, you can see here that the 4-year cycle, we had the sell-off in 2013 down to the 2015 low, and from that first low, 164 days, you get the 2017 top. You get another year sell-off right here. These have been around 52 weeks. This one was a little bit more. All the other, the last two are 52 weeks a year. You get the bear market 2017 and 18, again, 84%, 86%, and then you rise up to the 2021 top, again, another 1,064 days. Exactly. Based on the weekly bars. The bear market, you go down 78.5%, you drop another 52 bars, just like you did over here, and you got your new 4-year cycle, and you rise back up, and right on schedule, like clockwork. We top in October, yet 1,064 days from the first low is what I've marked here is Bitcoin put in a bottom in 2022 at 15,563. 2 weeks later, it dipped down and it went $90 lower and it bottomed out 2 weeks later at 15,473. 2 weeks later, it would have been 1,050 days. If we take it from the first low, it is exactly 1,064 days as these other cycles. You can't make this stuff up. The 4-year cycle is still intact, but Moonboys are dismissing it. The Moonboys, the herd, the so-called experts are now telling us, oh, no, it's the 5-year cycle or the SuperCycle. Bitcoin didn't go up high enough for them, so they're, you got these Moonboys and the herd, they're fantasizing about how much money they're going to make and what they're going to buy and their mansion that they're going to buy and their sports car, all the things that they're so they dismiss what the facts that are happening. The Bitcoin's already confirmed a bear market. It's already topped. And they base things on their emotion, and they base things on their faith in their moon boy cult. We have something here that has been demonstrated over and over again, the 4-year cycle that has played out like clockwork every single time. And I posted this chart if you want to look at it. It's right here, king of the charts with the O in of being a 0. And you can see that on X, you can see this chart, but they would rather believe in something that's never happened, the SuperCycle, believing what has been proven and what has happened over and over again. They dismiss it, they reject it because it doesn't fit their narrative that Bitcoin's got to go to the moon. We're going to, we haven't gone up enough, even though Bitcoin continues to have diminishing returns for each cycle. The returns get smaller and smaller percentage-wise, and this cycle is the smallest. March here the cycles and how, again, the 2015 to 17 cycle, 1,064 days. 2018 to 2021, 1,064 days right here. And then, again, our current cycle from the first Bitcoin bottom, 1,064 days to the October 6th top. Pretty stinking fascinating. This is the cycle, the Bitcoin cycle, from the cycle low to the cycle high. But it just fascinates me that they're putting all their faith and trust in this SuperCycle scenario that's never happened, but yet the proven 4-year cycle, they dismiss it, they reject it, they treat anybody that talks about it like they're a Neanderthal. It's because they're basing things on their hopes and dreams and their emotions, just as they did the last top, the Bitcoin top back in 2021 and the crash for the bear market in 2022, rode it all the way down. Most of them are going to do that again because that's what they do. They're moon boys, and the people in the herd, they're part of that cult, and it is a cult. I believe Bitcoin only goes up, and when it goes down, everything's a bottom. I'm just telling you, again, the SuperCycle is another Moonboy hoax. I have confirmation in the daily, weekly, and monthly time frame. If you watch my last 4 videos, you've seen those confirmation signals that validates and proves a bear market and a top for Bitcoin back on October 6, 2025. I've had confirmation of that. Yet you've got a boatload of people that are still in denial. The majority of them are still in denial. I saw one guy that's saying, I've just called the bottom, and he's saying, bear markets don't happen when everybody's predicting them. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We had the largest liquidation in history because nobody thought the top was going to happen. Everybody believed that we were on our way to 200 and 250,000. All the so-called experts were telling us that we were going to be at 200, 250,000 by the end of the year. You better hurry up and get in. Last chance, you better hurry up and get in. And Bitcoin collapsed and went the other way. Those of us that were paying attention saw the signals. I've talked about them at the top. I talked about them in the last 8.5 weeks now, since we've topped. But it just is amazing to me how here is 4-year cycle that has been proven, has worked in the past, but to the moon boys, which have perma-bull moon boy syndrome, they're like Mr. Magoo. They can't see it. If it's right in front of them, they can't see it. They don't want to see it. If you talk about it, they attack you and dismiss it and tell you how stupid you are as Bitcoin drops 36%. If they were holding long positions for Bitcoin, it dropped 36%. It's rebounded a little bit off that low, but it's going to go lower. You're paying attention to what's going on. You caught a good majority of that move, or most of it, either shorting Bitcoin or getting out and moving to cash and sitting on the sidelines. You got protected. Absolutely incredible, though. Again, I'm telling you, I think we have another Moonboy hoax on our hands with the SuperCycle. My signals are confirming that we're not going to new highs. My signals that got it correct. But absolutely incredible, they'll dismiss the 4-year cycle to believe in something, the SuperCycle, with Bitcoin that has never, ever happened. Absolutely incredible. But that's what people do when they're in a cult. They follow things blindly. Historical faith is based on evidence and fact, based on logic and reason. Cults are based on believing nonsense and following leaders and doing things blindly. Big difference, big difference. And that's why I say the Moon Boys it is a cult. It's the Moon Boy cult. In cults, you have heresies. The cult is based on a heresy. In the Moon Boy cult, they base things, follow things, they follow heresies, meaning things that are not true, false things. A heresy means they believe something that is contrary to the truth. And that's what they do. The truth is we've completed the 4-year cycle, but they don't believe that. They are believing a heresy in the Moon Boy cult. I've never seen anything like it. They're so indoctrinated. If you say anything about Bitcoin going down or a bear market or pulling back or a correction, I mean, their heads explode. It's incredible. They believe now in the new heresy. The new heresy is the SuperCycle, that Bitcoin's now in this new SuperCycle, and it's the new Moon Boy hoax, the new Moon Boy heresy, because it's not true. The truth is we're still in the 4-year cycle. That is the truth of the matter. It is the Thursday session for Bitcoin. We have Bitcoin down about 1%. It's come back to the 50 period here in the 4-hour time frame. Bitcoin broke to a new high above this peak here at 93,000. Right here, it broke up above that level, and it's pulled back to underneath it to the 50 period moving average. We're probably on our way to the 200 period, or maybe again towards closer to this 98,000 area if we get one more pop higher. I don't think you're going above 98,000, as I said, but if you do, then this is a larger primary wave 4. I think it's currently intermediate wave 4 of primary wave 3. I think you get another push down to 74,000. If we don't go higher or fall short of that level, we need to come back down and start taking out the low here and the low here, which is a support zone. If this move is now done, it very well could be wrapping up here or get one more push higher, but I think it's going to end here. As I've said before the rally ever happened, I think you're going to the low to mid 90,000 range, which we did reach over here, and I told you if you get above that, you can go as high as back up to test this 98,000 area. Well, I predicted a short-term bottom ahead of Thanksgiving. I predicted a rally with Thanksgiving, and I told you that could spill over into this week and go on into the Fed meeting if we go higher, or if we try to sell off ahead of the Fed, get peak with Thanksgiving week and go down and rally with the Fed. It looks like we're going to sell off with the Fed come December 10th, less than 1 week from right now. Again, I believe we have primary wave 1 and 2 done. I believe you have intermediate wave 1, 2, and 3 complete of primary wave 3, and I think that this is currently primary wave 4, intermediate wave 4. I think you get intermediate wave 5 whenever this is done. You go down to 74,000, and then I think you get a bounce there. That'll give you primary wave 4, and then I think you get one final sell-off into January. One thing that's going to happen in January is MicroStrategy could be delisted from the NASDAQ and removed from the SMCI index, NASDAQ 100, because of its huge exposure to Bitcoin. It's at risk of being reclassified, and forced selling would happen. This will put pressure on MicroStrategy, which is already a bear market. It peaked a year ago. One of the reasons why I told you that Bitcoin has confirmation of a bear market, because we've confirmed the double bottom just recently with this sell-off with MicroStrategy. This is supposed to be by mid-January. I think it's January 14th or 16th or something like that. Let's see, January 15th, January 15th. But MicroStrategy in talks with them right now. This happens, it's going to push MicroStrategy much lower. They could end up being forced to sell Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin collapses with this bear market, you got people out there like Peter Schiff saying they're at risk of bankruptcy. I don't know that, but that's the claim that some people are making. They could be right if Bitcoin collapses. See MicroStrategy go down because of this forced selling, and we see Bitcoin go down. And again, Bitcoin's going lower. 80,000 was not the bottom. We have a confirmed bear market. Be aware of all this as this is coming by January 15th. And MicroStrategy is at risk of being removed from the NASDAQ 100. It was just added late 2024 there. In my last video, I talked about confirmation of the Bitcoin bear market below Bitcoin's average price here in the daily time frame. If you did not watch that, go watch that. People are busy surrounding Thanksgiving, people taking extended vacations, but it's really important. That's one of the top 5 videos that I've done. Again, and linked at the end of that video is the confirmation of the bear market in the monthly time frame and in the weekly time frame. You have confirmation of a bear market in the daily, monthly, and weekly time frame, yet people are still in denial. This sell-off will likely not bottom until we reach this level right here, one of these two levels, the 1.5 Fibonacci, Bitcoin's average price down here, extension to the downside, or the 1618 Fibonacci extension to the downside. Again, this is 73,000. This is the 63,000 area. Bitcoin will likely not bottom for the short term and get a bigger bounce until we reach one of these Fibonacci's. And then you come down here or come down here, and then you get the bigger rebound back up to the 200 period and to Bitcoin's average price, which I personally think we drop into a January low. I think we'll drop here. You have people already having proclaimed the bottom. I was reading a guy talking about how he called the bottom last week. Never saw the top. They never saw the crash coming, but everything's a bottom. Again, we're going to just keep going lower. This is not the bottom. Eventually, you're going to get a massive relief rally that I think will be at one of these levels or maybe in between them. That's why I have a target between, 63,000 and 24,000, which is a 40 to 50% decline. I told you we might even exceed a 50% decline in the last bear market and go a little bit lower. 52% would take you to 60,000. But I think you're going to bottom at one of these levels here, whether the 73,000, and these are starting to tilt lower now. I talked about the bottom being at one of these lines. Well, that means we're at least for the bear market, we're going at least to 41,000, which it's going to be tilting lower. And by the time you reach it, it's going to be at a lot lower levels. The bear market, by the time we reach it, late 2026, which would be way over here, late 2026, or say maybe somewhere on in 2027, this thing's going to be declining. So it's going to be at much lower levels. You're going to get an 80 to 90% drop by the time Bitcoin bottoms. We're getting a counter trend, which I believe is the wave 4 of the larger crash wave 3. And I think we'll probably come down here, bounce off this level. But eventually, again, I think you're going to bottom at one of these lines. Those lines are near my target levels. We get the 100 period crossing below Bitcoin's average price. And I talked about this. I did a whole video on this, at least about the first 15 or 16 minutes. And I went through it and showed you Bitcoin has done in the past. Sometime before you die, hopefully before this week ends, go watch that video. Link it at the end of this video. Maybe my monthly confirmation video, but real important information, and I go through and I show you what has happened in the past. All the experts now convinced the bottom is in, and here we go, we're going to make new highs. And again, historically, every time we've confirmed a bear market here with Bitcoin's average price, you've gone down. Levels bounced back towards Bitcoin's average price and the 200-day moving average, and then you didn't go make new highs until after you've reached the extremes of 2 standard deviations to 2.5 standard deviations below Bitcoin's average price. That's where the bottoms have been with the bear markets. Past, that's history. Go watch the video that I made, my last video. I'll link it at the end of this one. You need this information. Information you're not going to get anywhere else. Now, I think Bitcoin is doing what it did the last time. We're seeing some signals turn bearish or bullish. Others are not. We're getting something like what we had over here. If I go back further, something like what we had over here, where you get a counter trend and some signals turn bullish, but then you still go and make new lows. And I think that's what's happening here as we got the counter trend to 116,000 for Bitcoin. That was the final exit point for Bitcoin. And again, you got people saying that we're going to be at 110, 112,000 in a few days. And again, You're likely going down to this low over here for a test before getting a bigger bounce, and then probably to take this level out eventually towards the 63,000 area again. This is a 41% drop here. I think you're going to probably drop more than that. The smallest amount that Bitcoin has ever dropped when it's kicked out the bear market was 45%. We've only dropped 36%. So again, in my mind, this is nothing more than a counter trend that I think will be ending, and I think you'll get the Fed sell-off in all likelihood next week. We got it over here with the right shoulder, with our head and shoulder pattern. You've got it over here at the final exit point at 116,000. Both of those were Fed meetings. This was September. This is October. You're going to see a sell-off in December. And then finally, I think in January, you're going to get emergency rate cuts out of the Fed. But I think Bitcoin will have a wrecking ball taken to it by dropping by 40 to 50% again by the time that happens. I think the oscillator will probably end up going negative and either form a divergence for testing 74,000 or going to an extreme and turning back up and eventually forming a divergence going into January, one or the other. But as I keep saying and have been saying since the top, Bitcoin is likely in a 40 to 50% decline. That's what happens at bear markets to kick them off. A lot of my indicators in here on the intraday chart, I think you're going to end up seeing a larger divergence likely develop. I think you're going to get rejection in this area here. That's near that 200 period on that 4-hour chart. Here, signals are still bearish, even though we've rallied up, 14,000 or so off of the 80,000 level. We've rallied up to, 94,000. Either we terminate it here, go a little bit higher, but I think you're going to end up forming a larger divergence going down to 74,000 or bounce there. And again, the people telling us that we are bottoming right now are the people that never saw the top, that never saw the sell-off coming and continue to call everything a bottom all the way down. And again, right now I'm seeing a post or two. Everybody just needs to relax. I've called the bottom. We're about to go parabolic and you'll see how correct I am. And again, Bitcoin has topped. It's not going to go make new highs. People are in denial. Many of the people proclaiming these bottoms are the people that are trying to save face because they've been calling a bottom all the way down and never saw the sell-off coming and told us it wasn't going to happen to begin with. Those predictions, that's why we had the largest liquidation in history, is because everybody was bullish. And I had somebody tell me earlier this week, oh, nobody was bullish up here. Are you kidding? We had the largest liquidation in history. Everybody was so leveraged to the hilt. They don't have the money anymore. They got wiped out. And that's why I told you we were going to see bigger and bigger moves to the downside, bigger crashes, bigger liquidations happening, but people are still in denial. Now, just quickly, let me just say this. Again, I've talked about this chart. I posted it back at the top. It's played out beautifully. I think we're going to go lower, down to 74,000, eventually down likely closer to 50% or more. When we go back up, this is where I think the Fed will cut and start jumbo cuts, and the crypto community will just go, here we go. The people that are telling us we're bottoming now and told us we had a breakout at the top and all these, the liquidation was a bottom and then the bottom here and the bottom here, now the bottom. They're going to proclaim that the bottom is in, the bear market is over. So off that they told us was never going to happen, it's over. And we're going to rally back up and get a right shoulder. Likely going to get a lower high than this 107, 108,000 area, maybe into the 90,000 range where we're at right now, or a little bit higher into the high 90,000, maybe into 100,000, possible, depending on how big of a rally. But I'm predicting about a 45% to 60% rally. You're going to have people that are going to have are getting the pants scared off of them right now. The institutions, when we go back up, they're going to be selling more. They're selling into, they've sold into this rally and they continue to sell. But you're going to have some people are going to rethink this and they're going to go, hey, this didn't feel fun down here. I better just get out and wait and see when we go back to the 200 period. And you're going to have people selling into this rally. It's mainly going to be the institutions and the big institutional guns, the people that are actually selling into this rally that are paying attention to what's going on. But you're going to have some of the herd get scared enough to where they're going to sell up here. But most of them are going to ride it all the way down. So just keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of motivation when we get this next rally to sell into this area, however high we go. I've marked the previous rally, the previous advance was 46%. In our last bear market, it could be anywhere from 45 to 60% or so. We'll be looking at the Fibonacci's whenever we bottom, but keep that in mind. So there's going to be a lot of motivated sellers. Once we get this next drop, they're going to be scared. We'll get this big rally, but then some of them are going to get scared when we rally back up, and they're going to get out, and there's going to be a lower high that sets up.